Again, Gills fans, welcome back to the latest episode of My Gills With on Gills and the Blood TV. Today I am joined by Phil, Ackup Beanhead1411 on Twitter. It's weird calling him by his real name, a bit like when people get confused when I call Boz Mark. We don't know who he is, but appreciate you coming on, mate. Looking forward to having a chat about your time supporting the Gills. And firstly, how you doing in the lockdown? You coping all right?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, working from home. I've just completed week 8. It's going all right. Some days are a bit of a drag where you lack a bit of motivation in the morning to do your work and stuff, in all honesty, but I think we're all going to get that. But it's okay. I'm fortunate we can work remotely in my business sort of thing where I work, so yeah. It's all right. It's just one of those things. It's just a bit frustrating. Obviously, we're all missing the footy, which we would love. Obviously, German football came back on yesterday, but I didn't watch any of that, so it's a bit frustrating.
I could not watch it, but it took a little while to get used to, so I can only imagine how players are feeling. It was very, very pre-season feel to it, like echoey, and it was akin to like watching people play five-a-side in a sports hall. The noise you was getting reverberating around. But the weird thing was you could hear everything, but obviously I don't speak German, so that didn't really matter. But in terms of when the English football starts, it'd be quite good because you can hear what the management and the coaching staff are shouting at the players, so you probably get a decent tactical sort of insight into it. But it's not the same. But
yeah, I watched the Man United game, the Europa League one, when they did that behind closed doors before everything went to lockdown, and that was like you say, it's very pre-season-y. You can hear everything they're saying and stuff like that. So it is surreal, but I'm sure the players will get used to it.
That's it. And it's live football, so it's better than no football, isn't it, at all, I suppose. But yeah, it just sort of made me miss Gills and Saturdays a bit more, unfortunately. That was the flip side to it. Anyway, cool. Subject today is Gills, so we'll crack on with these questions.
Yeah.
Right, first one. How long have you been supporting the club? Quite a while, judging by that shirt.
Yeah. So bit of a story which I might get a bit of stick for. So my first game was in 1992, March 1992, in fact. So my dad, I think, because I was quite a late developer in terms of getting into football. I didn't really start getting into it towards back into primary school. And my dad was never really into football either, to be honest. So, but as I was starting to get interest, he decided to take me along to a match. And my first match was away at Maidstone in 1992, March, at the old Dartford grounds when they played there. My dad took me into the Maidstone end because it kind of was a situation of I didn't know which team to support, both local teams in a weird way.
Sure.
But I decided before going to that match that I would support Gillingham because they were nearer to my house. So I lived in Strood at the time, and I wore a blue shell suit, all blue shell suit. and my dad took me in the Maidstone end, which was interesting. Not that I got any stick or anything, but looking back now, I think, what was my dad doing? Bit risky. But I do kind of remember the irony is the thing that stands out about that game. I don't remember much about Gills or anything. The one player that still stands out from that game was Libert Henry, because he was playing for Maidstone at the time.
Yeah.
And he was playing as like a winger or a forward. I can't quite remember, and he scored. And obviously then he went later on when Maidstone folded, everything went to sign for Gills and ended up being played as a left back.
We took a couple off them, didn't we? I think
we did, yeah.
Did we get Gary Breen from there as well?
I think so, yeah. I think there might have been a couple of others, but why? And I think he never, from speaking to people who saw him play quite regularly back then as a left back, they said he was never a left back in a million years. But I think he became a bit of a legend for them.
I remember he was the one player slightly before my time. My first game was '89, but I don't remember anything about it. Like you say, my dad took me. It was local football and it was affordable. But Dad's a Spurs fan, and he's never been a great one for going to games. He watches them from afar, but he prefers horse racing. So again, like you, it wasn't something that he sort of pushed me into as a kid. So I didn't really start going probably regularly until 95, 96, I think it was, and then 96, 97 properly when I was old enough to get on a train with my mates, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I remember the name Libert Henry, but not a lot about it. So that must have been one of the last league games between the two clubs, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was.
League final one.
I think it. Yeah, I'd have to struggle with my history on that, but I think you're right. I think it probably is. But I think we're very similar actually. So 95, 96, probably being a bit of a glory boy, I started going on to a few more of the games. Then I got a season ticket for 96, 97 because my mate from school, who's Bendall 16, I've known him since about the age of 10 or 11 when we started playing football together for Real 60, and then we went to secondary school together, etc. And he's been a season ticket holder since year dot because his parents just dragged him along, I think.
Is that Ben Bradley?
Yeah, Ben Bradley. Yeah. So
didn't his dad used to be a journalist?
Yeah, his dad, is Andy. So he used to be a journalist for Medway News and stuff like that. He still sits up in the press box and does the stats. He's the one who came up with that, the table with the corners that we're top of.
Oh yes.
He's done that. So if the
EFL are listening and they want to do a league table to finish on corners, then champions.
That's it, exactly. So so in a weird way, that's how I kind of got into Gills, really, from my mate Ben. He was obviously regular. I just enjoyed coming along and stuff. Probably, it helped that we were doing well at the time.
Yeah, I would say that it was a decent time to start going. I could imagine if it had been a couple of seasons. I remember going to the Halifax game in 92, 93, but that was through the school. The school had got loads of tickets because, like we still do now, they was trying to fill the ground up for a big game. And I think I've spoken about this on a previous video, but we was in they had that, what they used to call the family section in the corner of the old Raynham end. It'd be basically like where the piano bar is now.
Yeah.
But it was like the first time I appreciated that football meant something outside of just watching the game, because obviously I think if we'd lost, we probably wouldn't have a Gillingham Football Club to support and moan about, certainly in the sense that we still do now. I think we'd have definitely gone out of business, wouldn't we? So that was the first time I sort of remembered football being a bigger picture rather than just 22 men kicking a bit of leather about, so to speak.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this is what a bit of a weird one. I don't know why I've got this shirt. This was from back when I was a kid, and I don't remember ever going to a game with this shirt, really. I remember we played Sheffield Wednesday in the cup around this time, and I don't think I went to that game. I cannot remember. It's like a real blur. So I've gone from 92 and I've jumped 3 or 4 years. It's very weird.
I went to the Sheffield Wednesday game. I remember my dad actually got me tickets for Christmas because it was obviously the third round, so it was just after Christmas, wasn't it? And he got interviewed by Radio Kent, bless him, and he didn't go to Gills games. He sort of looked at their results because it was the closest league club, because he lives in Sittingbourne. But again, like I say, because of his horse racing love, he didn't really go to games. He used to take me because I was getting to the age where I started to want to go and watch football. But he used to take me to watch Sittingbourne as well, because that was like 5 minutes up the road from where we were living. But yeah, he got interviewed by Radio Kent.
Right.
And didn't really know what he was talking about, to be fair. I just remember Chris Waddle absolutely running the show that day. And their sub-keeper saving absolutely everything after Kevin Pressman got sent off, and then never played another game for them in the first team, I don't think.
No, I think we might be quite similar, actually, because my dad doesn't really know a lot about football either. When he came along as a season ticket holder, he used to get a bit of stick from some of the things he used to shout out.
Sort of generic old man stuff, like the referee needs glasses and that type of thing.
Or I'm going to write to the FA about this as a question.
Because they listen all the time. Right, you've sort of answered your first 2 questions then. You've done how long you've supported the Gills, and you've spoken about your first game. So we move on then to, we might have answered this as well, first significant Gills memory, aside maybe from Libert Henry playing in the wrong position.
Wow. So again, this was literally must have been a week or 2 afterwards. I clearly must have enjoyed that Maidstone away one, to say something to my dad. So he then took me to one of the home games in April. And this is a classic, right? So again, I was in the corner, you said, next to the running man where the T-bar was, the McDonald's section, family section, or whatever it was, in there. And the game was versus Blackpool at home, 3-2, Crown and Lim sent off, Joe Dunn in goal.
Oh, yes, I do remember the game vaguely.
Under goal from the halfway line where he dribbled through everyone and blasted it in. Yeah, so that was my first home game. And I mean, what a home game I know if people say about the Hereford game in recent years, which annoyingly I didn't go, I couldn't go to because I work that night. That's still great for me.
People are surprising me because I missed pretty much the whole of the championship winning season.
Yeah.
In 2013, because I was working in the pub trade. So I literally missed the whole season because I'd only been in the pub trade a couple of years, and at the time couldn't get Saturdays off. And obviously my boss's day off was Saturday because he was a massive West Ham fan. So only being there for 2 years, he took priority. And it was only sort of 2014, after being there a bit longer, that I could start trusting staff to cover it. And I'd have to literally go into work at 10, set up, leave at 1 to drive to the Gills games, and then be back on duty for 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, yeah, missed the whole championship winning season pretty much.
Yeah, that would have been a killer for me. I could handle missing one game, but yeah, not a whole season like that. That would be a bit grim. But yeah, that 3-2 game was just... I remember you see it when you do the highlights on YouTube of that game. There's a bit when I think the referee was having a bit of a mare. You look back at the footage now and you're like, why did he send Crown off on the Blackpool player? Because they weren't really doing it. Harvey Liam, you could kind of understand it a little bit, but there's this footage of down in the corner. I think Rod Thomas at the time gets tackled by a Blackpool player and he just absolutely boots him up in the air. And he doesn't even get a yellow card or anything. It's like. He just I think the referee just thought I can't send another player off or something.
It'd be like 15-game ban now, wouldn't he? Probably get arrested for assault in the modern game where you can't touch anyone. But
and the weird thing about it, I remember Rod Thomas as well. I think he was only on loan, but he was quite a flamboyant winger. I think he was on loan from Watford or someone, and he really stood out. He was inconsistent, a typical winger, but he was clearly better than most of the team in a weird way. But it was just like, what the hell is our left winger?
Booting people up in the air.
So yeah, that was surreal. I suppose the other notable thing as well, and again, I can't quite remember what this was about, but there was a time when the Gills Supporters Club used to run. So this is obviously early 90s, but they used to run these kind of trips where you used to go up to like the top league grounds. So I remember going on this one day where we all got on a bus or something, me and loads of other kids and stuff, and we all went up and did tours of the Arsenal and Chelsea grounds back in the day, back in the early 90s, so Highbury and Stamford Bridge, and it was surreal. I remember we went to the Arsenal grounds, and I think a reserves game or a youth team game was playing at the time, so we got to sit there and watch a bit of that. But I don't know why, but it's a memory, even though it's not directly linked to a match or anything. That I remember getting on the bus outside the old supporters club and where the club shop was at the front of the main stand and all that stuff. But it's weird, these kind of memories stick in your mind. But I remember that going into the Chelsea trophy cabinet room sort of thing where they had maybe one or two back then.
Before they existed.
It's just I think a good few years ago when I was clearing stuff out, I found a few of the photos which I'd obviously taken, and you can see where you had the old like perimeters around the back of the goals at Chelsea. I think if you look back at early 90s footage, you'll see a massive gap between the stand and like the goals, because they always had like a racing track around.
It was like there was a running track, wasn't there?
Yeah, so it's really quite surreal looking back. And then the next time I went to Stamford Bridge, obviously the 5-0 cup game we had. So, and obviously that ground had completely changed. I think they were even developing the stand we sat in. I think we had that stand in the alongside of the pitch.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I think Ken Bates was still the chairman then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then obviously Abramovich came in a couple of years afterwards, and 17 years later, they've won pretty much everything. I've done the tour of Highbury, but weirdly enough, myself, but it wasn't through Gills. It was through the school, and obviously my dad wasn't keen on me going, but I had to because it was part of a school trip. But They sort of bribed us and said, we can go and do a tour of a football ground in the afternoon, but you've got to visit a synagogue in the morning. So that was like, oh, come on, yeah, we're done. So all these kids are like running, well, apart from the girls weren't that interested. I remember all the boys like running around this synagogue to say, yeah, we've done everything, can we get on the bus and go to Highbury? But obviously my dad didn't talk to me for a couple of days because he was a Spurs fan. But yeah, I remember there was like I think there was one bit where you went in and there was like an underground, and there was like a bus. You could get on one. It was like one of the buses that they'd used to like when they'd won the league in '91, I think, or something.
Oh, okay.
And it was just like sat in the middle of this like museum thing, and you could climb up it and stand at the top, and lift the trophy and that type of thing. I think there was like a replica or something, or it might have been the FA Cup. When they won the cup double, didn't they, in the early 90s, Arsenal?
Yeah, I think it was at 94, something like that.
But it was Sheffield Wednesday in both finals, didn't they? Yeah.
That's it. That's where the old Steve Morrow broke his collarbone or something.
That's it, yeah. When Tony Adams dropped him on his head, yeah. So it might have been, I can't remember if it was the league trophy, or there was certainly some sort of trophy up there, and you was all allowed to go and have your photo taken. But I knew my dad was going to tell me off if I had too many photos taken at Arsenal, so I didn't really bother too much. But strange. Anyway, back to Gills.
So that was that game was my kind of real proper main memory. I think it kind of, in a weird way, that whole game just sums up Gills, doesn't it? You know, we were losing, and we had players sent off, we were underdogs, and you'll see a bit of a common theme through what I'll talk about. Like, I think this is why I think this is my main memories. With, you know, down to our men, you complete underdogs to win a game, let alone draw a game. I just love that about us. I think that's why, if you look back the kind of years when we've done well, it's always been very much against where we've built up a team and a squad and an ethos of it's us against the world.
Yeah.
And complete underdogs, and we're going to fight for everything, scrap for everything. I think that a lot of people say that kind of resonates with the Medway towns in terms of that's people's attitude, and you know, I think that kind of links back to when we had the docks open and all that kind of stuff. I think, but I think, I don't know, there's something about that you'll see when we talk about other stuff, but yeah, there's something about us being the underdogs and all that really resonates with me. It's that fight.
Yeah, I get what you mean as well in terms of us against the world, because I think we've had good players through the years, and I think when you do these types of interviews, and you especially have to research it to answer these questions, you suddenly realise we've been blessed with very good footballers throughout, even in our lifetime. So if people have been doing it since like the 60s and 70s, to like the Yeos and the Cascarinos and the Steve Bruces and the Ron Hilliards and that type that we only hear about, we've had some good footballers. But I think, like you've said, the teams that were most successful for Gillingham, certainly in our lifetime, so you're looking at 95, 96, and then it got built up to the 2 Wembley games, and then the 2012-13 season, have all been based on teams that were together and had a brilliant team spirit, and probably won 90% of their games because of the fact that they out-battled other sides rather than having loads of flamboyant technical players. Don't get me wrong, we had good players in all of them squads, which we needed, like the Taylors, the Asabas, the Dion Burtons, that type of thing. But I think a lot of our success came because we were so well drilled and so well together that we beat a lot of teams before we'd even walked onto the pitch.
Yeah, I think, dare I say it, I think Evans was starting to develop that this year before the lockdown hit. I know one of the kind of things you spoke about with other people about what did you make of it. Yeah, again, I'm probably in the camp of I wasn't against the appointment, but I didn't agree with his antics in previous times, like the fallout of where he tried to shop Hesse to the police and stuff like that. So I wasn't 100% with it, but I'm very much in the camp of yourself. I support the team and I'll back the team no matter what. Forget the manager. It'd be a bit like, I know everyone sees Tony Pulis as like some sort of god, but you got to remember, if you read the transcripts of the court battle and stuff like that, he tried to bring our club down. So if he was to come back as a manager, which I know will never happen all the time, Mr. Scally's around.
I'm not sure that's ever going to be possible.
but if that ever did happen, I don't think I could support Tony Pulis, but I'd still support the team.
And it's weird what you say about the Steve Evans thing, in the fact that, because I know that first Q&A I went along to, there was someone stood up and asked about Boston, and in fairness to Steve, he answered it. He didn't just say, I'm not answering that question. Yeah. I suppose similarly, it comes back to what we spoke about before we started recording about the Carlos Arbor chat that I did recently, that we was only ever getting one side of the story.
Yeah.
Whereas now he's appointed and he's inside the tent spitting out, so to speak. Steve's been able to give us, as supporters, his side of the story. And he knows he done wrong at Boston, and he can't change that. But like you, my thing was, I thought there were better managers about at the time that were younger and were probably more suited, in the sense that if Scally was going to go away from jobs for the boys or whatever we called it, I thought there was Darryl Clark, there was Paul Hurst, there was a couple of others about at the time. But I've said to other people, they've not been great in the division below this season, or last season, or whatever we call it now, because I think Walsall and Scunthorpe are both mid-table at best in League Two. And I think Steve was very clever in the sense that he knew he had to come in and go on a massive charm offensive with us as a supporter base, and he's done that. But in terms of touchline antics, I don't see anything untoward at all. He's backed his players when he's had to, but I don't think he's crossed the line.
He's had a few little bit earlier. He had the running with Lambert, didn't he? But again, what we're typical Gills fans, aren't we? Like, we'll moan if we see an opposition manager doing all that, right? But as soon as we don't see our own manager doing it, we'll moan he's showing no passion or anything like that.
Yeah, we levelled that at Lovell and Ady for just standing there with their arms folded, didn't we?
Exactly. So we're such a. I think we've said a few other people said we're such a fickle bunch. That's what does infuriate me at times. I think I'm quite open-minded as a Gills fan, and I've seen it all pretty much. I'd like to say, but obviously not quite as bad as us almost not existing. But I feel like I've seen an awful lot to know that it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be good or bad. It's Gillingham. That's why we're at the level we are, and we've got to accept it. And that's why certain players are. I think you said this numerous times. Certain players are never going to do amazing things or be 100% consistent. If they are, they're not going to play for us.
Exactly that. Yeah, they're going to chuck in 5s out of 10s because if they was doing 8s and 9s every week, they'd be in the Championship or the Premier League and playing for their country as well.
Yeah.
Like you said about who's the fella you was talking about early on in the video, the lad on loan from Watford.
Oh, Rod Thomas, yeah.
That's it, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Again, you said he was inconsistent, but he had ability. But yeah, there's a reason he was probably on loan at Gillingham because he weren't consistent enough to be in the Watford team on a regular basis. So. Yeah,
no. So very interesting. Yeah, but no, definitely that. That Blackpool game's definitely the memory just always sticks out. I still got the program somewhere up in the loft somewhere probably.
Nice.
50p a program or whatever it was.
Yeah, I was looking back through all my old ones the other day, and I think those like £1 or £1.50 at the time. I mean, you only get, I think you only get them horrible checker trade ones for £1 now, don't you? They're about 6 pages.
Yeah, my missus still moans at me for retaining the programs, but I will probably need to have a sort out at some point and retain the ones that actually might have a bit of sentimental meaning or value to them. And then there's probably some like, I don't know, 2005-06 or something. There's probably nothing in there to get excited about.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, it weren't the most memorable of seasons, the late 2000s, were they? So, but no, mine are all in 3 massive plastic tubs upstairs. But as long as I keep them in there, I think I'm safe at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I've done.
Right, we've moved. Let's move on to best ever live goal that you've seen by the Gills.
Okay, this is tough. This has been really tough. I've got loads. No, well, I say loads. I've got a short list of 6. I had a short list of 5, and then a 6th one I clocked the other day, and I was like, oh god, yeah, I really remember that goal. So there's 3 I'm going to talk about that haven't made the final 3, but there's 3 that I will say they really resonate. So Bob Taylor against Fulham, that last minute header.
Yep.
Just because
that's come up a couple of times already.
The whole emotion of that game. I think what I've noticed, lots of people commented about that. But what I think a lot of people forget is we were down to the bare bones that day. I think Ronan Edge maybe started his 2nd game ever for us or something.
Yeah. And
he went off injured, and Nyron came on for his debut at wing back, and I think even then towards the end he got subbed. We were proper down to the bare bones, and that's, again, I always love it when there's a game coming up and that we hear there's a major injury crisis. I always like, we'll win today, because we always seem to do the best when we're really up against it.
Yeah.
And I just remember that whole game, as we said about it, they had all the riches, all the money, top like Chris Coleman centre half and Peter Beardsley playing and all sorts. And yeah, that was really great. There's another goal that I think a lot of people forget about. Well, there's 2 goals in about the space of a week he scored, but this one was slightly better. So if he joined us, I think that was 96, 97, but he joined us as a winger, and he was indifferent, shall we say, for I think the first few months, and then Leo broke his leg, and if he got put up front, and then I remember he played Rotherham at home, and he scored a hat-trick up front, and one of them was this volley from the outside of the area. But that's not the goal. It's about a week or so later, I think, we played Notts County at home. I think we might have won 1-0, and he ran through, and he just chipped it over the goalie. Brilliant goal. I think, I don't know, just again stands really out in my memory as a really top goal, but no one ever really seems to remember it.
I'm struggling to recall that one.
Yeah,
the club put all the videos up. They've been doing it, haven't they? Player goals. I remember.
It's on there. If he's one, yeah.
Well, that's what I look back. Try and jog the old memory.
I remember that volley against Rotherham and the hat trick he scored that day, and just like
I remember that. Yeah, I remember the hat trick. Yeah, because then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we've got an half decent player here after all."
Yeah, that's it. But there's definitely, I think, I'm sure it was within the next 10 days or something. We played Notts County on a Tuesday night. Low attendance, but we won 1-0. I'm sure he just runs through and just dinks it over the goal. It's a quality goal. And then there's another one, but this one's, I again, it's hilarious. I always remember it thanks to my mate Ben sat next to me in the Reynolds. It was Courtney House's goal he scored on loan.
Swindon.
Yeah, it might have been. I can't remember who it was again. I think it was Swindon. Now you say that.
Yeah, that was a Tuesday night as well.
Yeah, and the ball had just rolled out edge of the penalty, or just about 25 yards out edge of the penalty. And it was coming up. I remember my mate Ben had clocked him from about the halfway line on the move, and he was just screaming, "Go on, Courtney! Go on, Courtney!" For about, it felt like an age he was shouting this.
Yeah.
And he just came out and I remember he just absolutely leathered it into the top corner.
Yeah, because if you watch the YouTube footage, he's not even in the shot. And I think Daffy sort of stops and goes inside and then just reverses it the other way. And you're thinking, there's no one there. And then, like you say, he arrives like an absolute train and just lets it in the roof of the net.
Yeah.
And that's the night that Stephen Bywater chucked in the equaliser right at the end.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. St. Rings Bell about that.
And I know why I remember that game, because that was the first season in the pub where I was started to be able to go properly again.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I remember that night. Yeah. I remember the goal really good. Yeah, I think Kedwell scored a penalty that night as well, but I do remember that goal.
Yeah, I think it was just the commentary alongside it in my ear of "Go on, Courtney." It's just it's just hilarious. So my final three: Hess versus Coventry, halfway line. Ironically, my wife's first ever Gills home game. I remember I still get it on the memories pop up on Facebook saying, "I've just seen the best goal ever. You need to watch Sky Sports tonight, everyone." Burner against Bristol Rovers. Again, I'd go back to your comments where you've said, like, I don't think any of us would have predicted that player would have done that.
No. I've still got the video clip on my phone of me, Boz and Stocky, but stupidly, for some reason, I deleted the Matchday Live off YouTube by mistake. So that game just doesn't exist on my YouTube channel, which is so frustrating because we were really good that day. And there weren't many times that season we were really good.
No, and then there was another. So this is another one that, again, not many people will remember, but I think this was the season, the Man City Wembley season, so 98, 99.
Yeah.
Saba away at Colchester, at the old Colchester grounds, and he got the ball maybe 30, 40 yards out, and he kept juggling the ball whilst running with it.
Yeah.
And he flicked over defence end and then kind of half volleyed it into the bottom corner. It was a bit of a scuffy finish, actually.
Was that the game he got sent off in as well, or was that the home game that season? I know he got sent off against Colchester.
I think that was the home game.
That must have been the home game.
Yeah, but I think we might have drawn 1-1 that game or something. But I just remember that bit of skill. So it's really tough for me to find out. I feel the Saabs one was quite good, but the scuffy finishes. I think it's the Burner goal. Just the whole technique. Not a player I'd ever expect to score a goal like that.
Yeah.
That'd probably be my one, but the other two I think are right up there for me.
And again, it's like we've said already, when you start, sort of thinking about it in more detail, you realise that we've scored some bloody good goals over the years, even when we've been rubbish as a team.
Yeah, Iffy away at Coventry when he scored that 45-yarder. There's so many, it's ridiculous. So, but no, I think
Kedwell won. First game I think against Bradford, the league winning season, where he basically ends up in the Raynham end.
Yeah.
So I assume you weren't at Fratton Park for the day Tom Eves.
No, I've only been to Fratton Park once. That was back in Championship years when I think Prozanecki absolutely destroyed us.
He was a player, wasn't he? He was about 20 fags, I think, before the game.
Yeah, exactly. So I've not been back since, unfortunately, which is a bit annoying because I was a bit fortunate around that time. I think I came into a bit of money because Gran had passed away, and I think in those kind of Wembley years and the first year of the Championship, I pretty much did most away games. I was there for nearly all of them, so that was a great period for me. I loved that. That was probably, and again, I was probably around sixth form kind of age, so not caring the world about what I did at weekends really.
Like you say, no other responsibilities, just spend your money on what you like.
I absolutely loved it. They were easily probably my best years of supporting the club, I'd say, just because of all that. Got to experience all the emotions. So it's a shame I can't. But we all get old, move on, responsibilities and stuff, so you can't.
We'll have to grow up. Yeah, we have to pick and choose our away days now. I try and do sort of 3 or 4 each season now that I've not done before. But obviously, you try and do the local ones first, and then you have to start trying to go for it. But I'm so glad that after losing at home to Wimbledon that I did go to Sunderland. So that's the last game I saw us play live. I don't think I could stomach the fact that I might have to wait a year to see us play, and Wimbledon at home would have been the last game I saw. So quite pleasing that I went to the stadium alive. But let's move on from best ever goal then to best ever 90 minutes. So your favourite Gills game?
Again, probably similar. I've got a bit of a short list. And again, kind of links back to the underdog theme. So I loved, we went to Bolton away and we drew 3-3 in the Championship. I think Southall scored a cracking little free kick. Again, we were right down to the bare bones. I think Kev James.
That one we just little dink, didn't whip it or anything. Flipped it over the wall. It just kept going into the corner.
That's it. Yeah, I think Marlon scored. Pato might have got an own goal for them. But yeah, I just remember we were proper down to the bare bones again. And to get, and Bolton were flying high at that point. So to get 3-3 draw there was unbelievable. Another game I think people forget about. It's not an underdog one. When we beat Preston 5-0 at home on the first day. Yeah, think about it. Again, typical Preston, we always say about it. Gregan was there, always knew it was going to be a tough game against Preston.
Yeah, always get battles with them. We always seem to sort of be at the same sort of position for a while, didn't we?
Absolutely destroyed them that day. I think Browning scored 2 goals. That's
another one who wasn't renowned for scoring.
No, and it wasn't a popular player either.
Suffered with injuries though, didn't he? A lot, really badly suffered with injuries.
Yeah. And there was another one when we beat Millwall away in their kit. That was a classic, just because.
In their green away kit. Yeah, I remember that one because we turned up with the wrong stuff, hadn't we?
Yeah. I think Bob the kit man that was at that time. So then it comes down to Arsenal away in the cup was a cracker. Love that. Just again, I know we lost, but the fact we battled, we got it to 2-2 there to bring on the big guns the whole day.
That's the biggest thing, isn't it? That they had to bring on Omri and Pires and all that to see us off. Yeah,
there's no doubt we scared the hell out of them that day. So that was great. And then it comes down to my final 2. So it's funny, none of them are wins. And again, but a link back to the underdog stuff. So I'll probably go with the second place I'll probably say would be Chelsea at home in the cup when we lost 4-2.
Love that game. Just wish that we'd played for the whole game like we had for the last 25 minutes.
I remember it 3-0 down half time. We came out, it was on Sky, Andy Gray and all that. And we got it. I just remember, I still say to this day, that's the loudest I've ever heard that stadium.
I couldn't even get in the rain that day. I think I was in the town end, and it was, you were like that. Like you literally could not move. Like even when we scored, you were struggling to get your arms up and jump because it was that tightly packed. It was absolutely incredible that day.
I remember if he got it back to 3-2, it kind of gives you goosebumps thinking about that.
Yeah.
I still say we're going to struggle to get an atmosphere like that again because it was just that was also unbelievable. We had them so rocking.
They were terrified for 20 minutes, and then it was just a shame that we got caught on the break right at the end.
Yeah, right at the last second, wasn't it? Gronkiar, I think it was.
Gronkiar ruined Adi Pennock first half because I had a laugh with Vince Bartram about this when I spoke to him. I think Johnson got the last. I think Gronkiar set it up, but I remember Gronkiar being, and that was his debut, and he was absolutely frightening that day.
Yeah.
But I remember Shaw got the first, didn't he? Slotted it under the keeper. And then again, it was another Southall free kick when it absolutely hammered it. And I think Kudacini just beat it back out. And to be fair to Iffy, it's a really good finish because he did have no time to sort of adjust his feet. He just had to sort of just cushion it back towards goal. I think if he tried to thrust his head towards it, he might have headed it over. But and then, like you say, that place was absolutely jumping. And can only imagine what would have happened if we'd managed to nick an equaliser. It would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, no, definitely. But the one game... Again, it's another cup game, again, another underdog game. Coventry at home, 2-2.
The League Cup run, 96-97.
Before we went away, everyone would probably say, the away one would be won. But again, that place was... there's no way the attendance was what it was. I remember that Rainham End was... we were like sardines. You could not move in there. It was clearly overfull for me. I remember Simon Ratcliffe absolutely scored an absolute pearl.
Scored a belter, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and just again, Coventry were a bloody good side back then. You look at their team on paper, Gary McAllister, there's some good players.
Strachan was the player manager then, wasn't he?
I think, they were in the period of, I think Atkinson got sacked, after that first game, that 2-2.
Oh, sorry, yeah. And then Strachan took over and was player manager for the second, the replay. Yeah, but they still had. Did they have? I think like Noel Whelan up front, who was up and coming. They'd signed from Leeds.
That Telf, Paul Williams, Grizovic. Yeah, they had a good side back then. Coventry. People probably won't see it like that, but they did. I'm just again, I think again the whole atmosphere, the ground, we're at full to the brim, proper underdogs. We hadn't had many cup games against big sides back then as well. Yeah, I just remember that. So that's probably my favourite 90 minutes, just because again, that's why I love it. We're fighting as underdogs the most. That's why I got really excited by the West Ham game this year. It was it was a chance for us to, and I just felt we should have gone for that a bit more. I felt we were had them a bit too much.
We had that chance really early doors, didn't we, Hanlon? And to be fair, because I don't know what your thoughts are on Brandon Hanlon, but I think he gets a lot of unfair stick. I think Steve Evans made a good point and said if he scored regularly, he'd be gone. Because again, and it comes back to this thing, he's a League One player for a reason. But he's got absolutely everything aside.
He creates more chances for that team when he's playing because he causes havoc.
And people they have to double up. They're so scared of his pace and his power that he basically occupies the fullback and the centre back when he just drifts into that inside channel. But I think if he scored more goals, we wouldn't keep him.
Yeah, I think like Ben, when we first signed him, he said he reminds me of a Raw when we first had him back in Bay, when we had him right at the start.
Yep.
Very raw. But I would say he reminds me now around a bit longer because he's still not quite scoring the goals. I'd say more of a Gear Poor. I
think Guy was a proper finisher. You forget how good Guy was, but it was only because he didn't start loads of games because of all the four strikers we had at the time. But loved Guy, and it was a great song. Well, it wasn't even a song; it was just a noise, really, wasn't it? But,
exactly. A bit like Eves sort of thing. And born offside, I think Guy. He was always offside.
He was, to be fair. He was like lower league Jermaine Defoe.
Yeah, an absolute nightmare. So sorry, I'm saying about a lot of games, but it's so difficult. It's so difficult. But they're the ones I remember and the goals and that.
Someone said to me because I interviewed Dave Creasy the other day, and he messaged me. He said, "Why don't you get Boswell-Stocky to interview you?" And I said, "I think I've probably covered all my answers in a roundabout way in talking to everyone else. So I'd just be repeating myself." But surprised you didn't say Sheffield Wednesday at home.
Yeah, but do you know what? I think I was quite confident we were going to win that game.
Fair.
At the
but
time,
it's still Sheffield Wednesday, and like you say, it was still a proper because again, it's back to the days when teams didn't rest half their 11 for the games. It was still God rest his soul. Pavel Cernacek was in goal. They had, I think, Peter Atherton was the captain. Gerald Sibon obviously scored. Who was there? The Dutch midfielder, was it Wim Jonk?
Yeah, Wim Jonk. I remember because I got him to sign a shirt that I had when he got off the bus. When he arrived at the ground.
Again, it was a proper good Sheffield Wednesday. That's it, Nicholas Alexanderson. That's who I was trying to think of.
I think probably Hinchcliffe played left back international.
Yeah, he was an England international. Yeah.
Des Walker, I think, might have even been playing. Think about it. Might have been playing centre half, maybe. It was about that time.
Was he? I thought he might have already gone. I thought he'd already. Maybe. Where was he? Started at Forest, then he went abroad, didn't he? Did he go to Sampdoria?
Yeah, then he came out to Wednesday for quite. He was there for a few years.
I'll have to have a look. I'll have to Google it, and we'll have a look after this is finished. But I'm surprised it didn't make your honourable mention.
And like the Wembley games, the Wembley games as well. People would say about, but I don't know. I'm again listening to some of the other stuff you've done. The City game for me definitely that day. I remember I cried all the way home on the bus. We went up on one of the old London buses that Scally had sorted out. Longest journey home ever. And then I just remember a year later when I remember it was more tears of joy when we actually got the third goal.
I think there was just relief, wasn't there? So much relief at the full-time whistle at Wigan because of the fact that what had happened the year before.
Yeah, and the fact, but again, I'd done a lot of games that year away from home as well. I think I'd invested my emotions into the club at the time. Not saying I've done anymore, but it's not quite the same. If you're going week in there, I get why people get so passionate when they're week in, week out going to games. But yeah, I think I don't know. There's so many games you could list probably, but I don't know. There's some like other people. Certain games mean certain things to different people, and I think
of course, who
loves us being underdogs.
It's fair enough, right? We've done the best 90 minutes. Let's move on then to a full campaign. Favourite ever season watching the Gills?
again, I think so. 98, 99, the championship season, and the first season in the championship. So 0001.
Yeah,
they're my three. I think I'd have to go with 98, 99 because again, didn't get off to a great start. Taylor and Saba did all right, but Taylor wasn't firing, got loads of stick. And again, you look at that team, we're such a small squad, tiny squad, and and I think it's summed up the interviews you've done with Taylor and Saba. They were playing those last few games. They shouldn't have probably been even stepping foot onto the pitch.
No.
They're taking all sorts of painkillers and everything just to get through maybe an hour, 70 minutes if they could. Yeah. And I think that kind of sums it up. It was dogs of war. I think it's a phrase I've heard a lot. Again, I thought Mad Dog brought that in the championship season, and again that first season championship, no one expects us to do anything, but Hess carried on with the dogs of war kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And we caused quite a few upsets that
year. He fought really well as well. That's the thing. People tend to forget that Hesse done a really good job. It wasn't just because I know he had a lot of the players that Pulis had obviously built it, and then Taylor had tweaked it a little bit and changed the way we played slightly. But you think the three people we brought in the summer, the summer of that season, were Marlon King, Paul Shaw and Chris Oak, three absolutely brilliant additions. Now, looking back, you can say all three of them played a massive part in certainly that first 3 years in the championship where we just kept getting better and better. And I think it was 2002-03 when we had a real chance at the playoffs, I think, and then we went 3 games at home. We only picked up 2 points. I mean, we lost to Rotherham and then drew the next 2, and that killed it dead, unfortunately. Yeah. But Hesse, I think, gets a lot of not similar to Brandon Hannon, but because it's a different way. But in terms of a manager, I don't think Hesse's ever done a lot wrong for us.
No, I
in League 2, he missed out by goal difference and a point.
Yeah, I think that was probably those years when he came back. I think they've slightly tarnished his reputation with us. I feel, in all honesty, if we go back to that those signings, I think there was rumours at the time that Peter Taylor had identified them, but Hess was the one who confirmed them and rubber stamped them. Be nice to know what the truth would be one day on that. I think in those early championship years, Hess was helped a lot by what he had as backroom staff with Richard Hill. Richard Hill, I think, was a vital cog, and I think Hess would probably acknowledge that. I think.
I'm not saying it was just Hesse, but I just think the stick that he gets is a little bit unfair.
But I think if you look at it, because Hess was still on the pitch a lot, how much did he have input into what was going on during games? Probably not a lot. So he must have really relied on people like Richard Hill and Wayne Jones back then for the tactical side of stuff. Because obviously, I might be doing him a disservice, but
I see your point. It's a valid point, of course.
How can you do tactical stuff when you're playing? I don't think you can.
No, it's a fair point.
So, and he just didn't quite have that level of experience with him when he came back in League 2. I think obviously Nicky was his number 2. But he had Hendon, didn't he, for a bit? But then he moved on.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Nicky, again, nothing against Nicky, who's been great for us, but he just lacked probably that bit of experience there, maybe with him.
Yeah, because I think that would have been Southall's first role in terms of coaching, wasn't it? Whereas now he's had another sort of 9-10 years doing it. He's probably a lot better coach.
So
or Nicky, number 2 or whatever.
He might just say, there's some things now I never would have done back then. So.
And a bit of hindsight that we can all use, can't we?
No, I'll probably say with 98, 99, but it's tough because, again, like I keep saying, there's that common thing coming through. 98, 99, just because of the small squad, I think.
Fair enough. Right, now, I've got no idea now on the manager one. Then, right, greatest Gills manager?
Probably those managers for those seasons, but I think he's got to be Mad Dog. It's a shame the way it all went at the end. I think there was rumours, wasn't there? He'd lost a bit of the dressing room, although it seems incidental when he kind of talked. We have spoken to some of those players in that team, like Nelson and stuff like that. There's no hint of there being a problem. So it really would be it. But I know I was hearing stuff like he'd upset people in and around the club with his manner. And again, your interview with, I think, was it David Parry the other week?
I was going to say that was the one which was interesting.
That indicated issues there. So I mean, he's a unique guy, isn't he, Mad Dog? He's a real
Yeah, I
character.
think quirky is probably the most polite way to label him.
Yeah,
eccentric.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, a classic one is during that season. So I think, well, during that season, right at the start of that season, he'd just been appointed, and I just do it. It cracks you up. He'd just been appointed, and my firm were doing some sort of charity bike ride,
right,
to raise money, and they were short of of a person to cycle. And I knew he was doing a lot of cycling to and from the ground and to training, because I caught him by Beechin's way roundabout on his bike one day.
right.
When I was driving, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I thought, I'm going to email him. So I think I emailed into the club and just said, we've got a vacancy. We're doing it on this bank holiday weekend. Do you want to join us? Didn't hear anything back. And then I went away on a stag do. And I'm sat at Tallinn Airport and my phone rings. I looked at the number and I thought, that's the club's number. I answered it and it was him. It was Martin Allen going, really, thanks for your email, Phil. Cracking, I really want to support you, but I just can't. I've got commitments. I'd love to do it. But that sums that guy up at that time, because he took that time out to make that personal phone call. But I remember he was on the phone to me and he went, "Hold on a minute, Phil. Hold on," because he had another phone ringing. And he came to that phone. He goes, I'm on the other line. I'll call you back." Like, really shitty. So it's just, I just couldn't believe it. I was sat in Tallinn Airport with a bit of a hangover, waiting to board a plane.
And the Gills manager phones you for a chat.
Yeah, it's just surreal. I just remember turning his Ben going, Martin Allen's just run me. So I think just all that with him, the video where he fell down with his red trousers and all that stuff.
Yeah, I always remember that.
I think it's that whole package with him. But dare I say it, I can see Evans getting there. I think my only still nervousness around Evans is he might completely tear up our squad on a regular basis. I think we'll see lots of players be turned over. You look back at other teams, he's done that a lot.
But is he, number one, do we have the budget for him to be able to do that? And number two, that sort of theory now becomes even more pertinent, I suppose, because of the fact that when we do get started up, no one can probably spend any money. So it might be a cheaper option to just renew everyone that we can keep, on the basis that he knows what they're like and they've done a job for him this season. But it'd be an interesting one to watch. I just look at his history.
I always think Leopard don't change their spots necessarily. But we'll see. I'm happy.
But he still needs the money to spend to be able to do what he's done at Peterborough and Mansfield, I suppose. But
there's ways of getting people out of clubs, though.
But we'll see. We'll see. It'll be an interesting watch whenever it does start again, I think. But
no, it's a Mad Dog, I think, just because of that whole package. And he brought us.
There's only two managers that can say they've won a league title for Gills. So
exactly. Yeah. No, definitely.
Right. Cult hero. And it doesn't have to be. Again, I say to everyone, it doesn't have to be the greatest player, the most technically minded.
It certainly is
someone that you just love watching, or just think, he was superb. He might have been crap, but
okay, no one will beat this, because no one will even have this player even close. It's Roland Edge.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell from that reaction. Came for the youth team. I don't think he was the best player ever, but he played left back, which I don't know why I quite resonated with him, because I think I was playing left back at the time, Sunday League. Ginger hair, resonated with that. Similar build and all that. So it was almost like I felt like that's me out on that pitch.
That's my career.
But he wasn't a great player. But again, you look back, he was a regular left back in that Championship team for numerous years. So when people always say, pull together your best Gills 11, people look back for maybe the same age as me and you, a similar time frame. I'm flabbergasted he doesn't make many top number. I know I'm biased because he's my cult hero, but I am flabbergasted. Most people go Danny Jackman. I'm like, Danny Jackman didn't play to any kind of real level.
The trouble is, I think as well, when you try and pick them, and I do it, I'm guilty of it certainly, when you try and pick them fantasy 11, so to speak, I think because we had so many good centre halves, I think a lot of people almost go and try and play three at the back to get three of them in, and then sort of shove someone out there who's meant to be a winger, but it will let him go and do a job at wing back because it is a fantasy 11. I think if you said to someone, you've got to pick a team and play a back four, I think then Rowley would probably get picked a lot more. But
yeah,
it's interesting what you say about, because I remember watching him at times and just thinking,
he looked awkward at times.
He never looks like he's got the ball under control. It's like bobbling
No.
about between his feet, and he always looked like he was having a first touch with his shin or his knee. But
yeah,
like you say, he played loads of games, and then he went and played for Hibernian in the SPL.
yeah,
and Hull City, I think, after that.
Yeah, and what was the because I think PT's re-signed him at Hull.
Yeah,
but was it the Saab's interview? What interview was it recently? Someone said that he had a bid come in, didn't he?
And
Lewis, was it? No,
wasn't it him and Edge meant to be going to Leicester?
Yeah,
with PT. Yeah. I'm sure Saab said that.
Yeah. So he was.
And they were in the Premier League.
He did the Premier League. That just blew. I couldn't believe that. That was the biggest standout thing from the whole interview. I was just like, sorry, what?
Yeah, you sort of have to like,
I
think the same when Bob Taylor went, oh yeah, Spurs come in for me and offered more than Man City, and I was like, pardon?
Yeah, and Roland, didn't have pace either. Didn't have pace. So again, all these factors.
Like he shouldn't have been a professional footballer.
Yeah, but he was very good. I think he was one of the last few players. We've not had many of these. I think something. Andy, who sits near me, says a lot about our fullbacks. The best fullbacks are the ones that do that sweeping in behind the centre halves when they make a mistake, or they're there to cover any mistakes by centre halves. Barry Fuller's got superb at it with his experience over the years now. But Ryan Edge was really good at that. He was very good at that. I think that's a good trait to see in a fullback. If they're good at doing that kind of stuff, then I think their positional something like that's really good. So yeah, he's my cult hero. Just it is a left field one, but and the thing that still galls me, I missed his only goal in senior football because I was up at
still the little 1-2 and then he slots it in the bottom corner at the channel. Who was it against? I forgot who it was against.
Bury,
that's it.
I was up at Old Trafford that day because unfortunately that's my second team, which I'll get a lot of stick of. Watching them beat Everton 4-0 or something, and I remember getting on the coach at Old Trafford to get and listen to the scores. I remember, and I got a text off a mate saying Roland scored. I was like, no, he went, yeah. I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted. And I was like, I can't believe I've missed his only. And he'll score again. He'll score, and he never did.
No, he didn't. Like Barry Fuller won't score ever again.
No, yeah, that still upsets me a little bit. But the other person I would have said was Iffy as well. I think
Iffy's right up there for me. Yeah, he was good, but I don't think he'd play in the modern game. He was just like saying that, but then he scored lots of types of goals. But for me, it always just looked like a battering ram.
Yeah,
he was just basically just going to run through people. And that video off that crap 90s Twitter page where he just boots the Wrexham player and then gets sent off and looks around as if to say, "What have I done?" It's just absolutely, it's priceless. It's classic Iffy, just doing what he fancies and then wondering why he's been dismissed.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, again, there was rumours around why he left. I don't know if you listened to that the 90s football podcast that Josh Widdicombe that do.
The Quickly Kevin one.
Quickly Kevin, they do
for a while purely because I usually put them on when I'm driving to work, and I'm not driving to work a lot at the moment.
They've done an episode on the Gillingham documentary that covered that season.
I listened to the first step, and then they said there was going to be a part 2. Is that coming out?
Yeah, they haven't done it, but that is again. They talk about that was around the time when we're trying to get a defender in on deadline day. We sold Iffy. Yes. And I remember it all brought back memories about the rumours, which I won't say, about Iffy at the time and why we were getting rid of him, which was due to extracurricular activities with someone's wife. Is all I'll say.
Yes, I think it was someone quite high up in the club's wife as well, wasn't it? Who's no longer that person's wife. Yes. And that person has had quite a lot of wives since being in charge of the Gills.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. So Iffy's up there, and also I just have this thing about.
Wasn't she a singer?
Yes. Yeah.
The younger fans have got no clue, hopefully.
But the other thing I also quite enjoy is any defender who plays for us who, when the game's being played and they're marking a striker or winger or something like that, and I see them step on their toes. I love that. That's so
I'm a defender. I've done it loads of times.
Darren Carr used to do it. Gary Richards, I think, was probably the most recent player I had noticed doing it. I think Richard Green used to do it. I was like, yes, that's classic proper football.
It's stuff that you could get away with back then as well, and you can't touch each other now. That's the trouble.
No,
you just can't do anything in the game now, which is a shame. But
love seeing. I love sometimes just, although it's great to watch the game where the ball's going, watch what's going. I do sometimes catch myself just watching. If I see a little running battle going on, I'll just focus on watching that for a couple of minutes or so.
Max Amar loves a shirt tug. The amount of times he gets away with not giving away penalties, Max Amar, he loves a shirt tug in the box, like grabbing hold, and you're thinking he's going to get caught out soon. But
yeah, I think I've noticed that a few times myself. Yeah, now you say it. So yeah, good. But yeah, Ronan Edge and Iffy are probably the top two. Easily,
nice. Right then, on to the greatest player then.
I think it's between two, isn't it? I think that's quite. Don't get me wrong, Hess is a legend, but in terms of overall ability, it's Daki or Bob Taylor. I don't think anyone can touch them in terms of ability. I love what I think it was David Parry said about Hess, about really represented Gillingham.
Yeah,
the club tweeted, didn't they, Mr. Gillingham? He did. Hess wasn't the greatest player, but he got stuck in. He threw he gave 120% to everything. He epitomised a Gillingham fan and and the club.
Again, and all the best sides. He was right bang in the middle of it.
That's it. But in terms of overall ability, I mean, definitely recent times, Daki that season. I mean, I remember going, again, I think you talked about this to someone about when at that point in that season, did you think we were going to achieve something? It was Deji. And for me, I remember we did Chesterfield away. I think we might have been 3-1, 3-2. I just remember watching that game.
Yeah, beaten 3-1. Yeah. Harry Lennon scored that day, I think, on loan. And Rory Donnelly scored a header.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, gosh, what happened to him? But yeah, I just remember, I think that was the game where I thought, I think we are really going to do something this season. I can't see this stopping. We just looked so invincible. And he was just an unbelievable top game. I still can't quite work out why he wasn't as good that following season. I think also we had a lot of issues going on. I don't think his role changed, but he just wasn't the same player, Daki. I don't know if it was the injury. I don't know what it was, but I
think he probably should have gone. Because if you remember that last game at Millwall, 2015-16, he literally spent an hour, didn't he, walking around and having a photo.
He knew
that was it. I was convinced he was disappearing. And then
I think he knew as well.
But I think maybe it was just he stayed a season too long. Sad thing for me with Daki is the last game he played was Charlton away and he had to play holding midfield. Because Ady decided in his infinite wisdom that he'd swap him and Josh Wright just because Josh Wright had scored 7 or 8 penalties. Yeah,
fun if I remember at one point, beginning of that season, I had a bit of a run-in with Josh Wright on Twitter, actually. I got a private message for him. He's saying, I've seen your tweets. So I think I've been having a pop at him. And he said, just to let you know, my role's changed in the team. So, because I was criticising him about not playing the holding role properly and basically going missing and not putting a tackle in. And he basically said, my role's changed, just so you know, I'm not having a pop at you. He said, but you don't always know what's going on. And my role's completely changed. And that's why I'm not playing the holding role. So you can't hold me to that. Still think I can hold him to the fact that he couldn't make a tackle. So I'm expecting another message now. Yeah, I just remember that. And I think, I'm still not in the camp of I love Josh Wright. I never will be. That's
why we all love football. We all have different opinions.
I think he had too much other baggage around him that I didn't really appreciate. I think it was a distraction. It became a club distraction, personally.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, Bob Taylor, though, I think is the one. Again, we talk back to that 99-2000 season, that hat-trick against Bristol City.
It's just a joke. I still watch it now and I think that last free kick should never be going in that far corner.
No, it's the best hat-trick. I think it's I think one was a header. Was it all foot? Was it one a header? But
it was all right foot. It was all right foot.
I just remember it's the best hat-trick I've ever seen.
First one was the ball dropped him in the 6-yard box and he volleyed it in the roof of the net. And then the second one, he got it on the edge of the D and bent it far corner. And then the third one, that free kick, the only person I knew at the time that was taking free kicks like that was David Beckham. It's the wrong angle. It's the wrong side. He shouldn't even be taking it. It should be a left footer.
No, because I think he said on his interview, he did one at Millwall a week or so earlier.
He scored one against Wrexham, one against Millwall. The Millwall one where he put his laces through it because he noticed Warner was behind the wall and couldn't see. He just clumped it in the bottom corner. And then the one against Wrexham, I think, was late. But I've said it hundreds of thousands of times. I've never seen a player strike a ball so clean in my life at any level live.
No, he was just phenomenal, and it is a real. It was so sad to hear his interview where he talked about his time at Wolves. I mean,
yeah, that just
sounds
heartbreaking to be treated that badly by a club that, all right, they weren't in the Premier League, but they're still historically one of the biggest clubs about, and to be treating their players like that. And he said Andy Sinton as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
he was an ex-England international, and they're just treating them like pieces of meat. Was just absolutely staggering.
Yeah, so that was really really sad to see. I just remember when he came back, didn't he, with that loan spell, about 10 games, he was nowhere near the same player, and he must have just been just playing to help us out for a bit, I think. So we were struggling, I think, that beginning of that season.
I think he said that he ended up playing out wide because we were struggling with injuries. He was being played basically like an inverted winger.
Or a 4-3-3 formation then.
But that was never Bob's game, was it? He was never going to, run past the fullback and get to the byline.
No, you say that, but then Kedwell played a few games right wing, didn't he? I remember when we were playing the 4-3-3 under Hess. There was a period when he put him out wide.
Yeah, he did.
Before someone played down the middle instead. And that, again, just bizarre.
Yeah, because in terms of build and the attributes that they both had, you'd probably say that Kedwell and Taylor are the same type of player. I'm not, and no disrespect to Danny Kedwell, I love Danny Kedwell, but he's nowhere near the player that Bob Taylor ever was for us. But in terms of what they do and what they bring to the team, they're similar type of players. And, you can play it into them and they'll hold it up and they know how to finish and they know where the back of the net is. But neither of them had any kind of pace.
No.
Which is why Taylor and Saabs work so well, because Card would be the one that would run in behind all the time.
Yeah, that's right. I remember it's a bit sad when we used to have a kickabout. Me and my mate Ben, back in those kind of days, used to pretend we were Bob Taylor and the Saber up front. He was Bob Taylor. I think because of his build, he'll love that when he listens to this. And I was Saber, so he used to hold the ball up and flick it in behind, and I used to run on and finish it. It was quite funny. We used to do it all the time. We just used to destroy teams in a kickabout, but it was quite funny. I think I was going to mention, going away from the other questions, but
no, that's fine.
I remember there's some other classics that have happened to me in my years at Gills, and this goes back to the time when I used to do a lot of the away games. Again, my friends who used to go to those trips with me will remember these. So I had a bit of a thing of on away trips, something always seemed to happen to me. So I remember going to Southend and what the way end's like, standing on one of the seats and falling between the seat. So as though the seat had eaten me. I couldn't get out. That was a classic. I remember running up.
Am I right in correct in saying that Southend we got put to the side of the goal years ago as well? We never always used to have to be behind the goal. I'm sure one game I went there about 90.
We had that. I think in recent years they've cut off the curve. It curves round, doesn't it?
Yeah, we used to be not in the corner bit.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas now we're solely behind the goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So remember that. I remember running up the steps at Preston with some pies in my hand and stacking it on the stairs. And then the classic one was, I can't remember what game we were going to, but we stopped off at Services on the way. And I remember coming out of the service station, kind of light jog up a couple of steps to get back to the coach, and I tripped on the last step. And I remember rugby tackling this bin as you stumble and fall. And I just remember I wasn't going to say it. No one had seen me really, but I remember getting on the coach just holding my shoulder because I was in absolute agony, and the amount of stick I got for that was just hilarious. But still, the best one was Cheltenham away in the FA Cup. I think we drew 1-1. This is the Peter Taylor year, and
so that would have been that cup, the cup run.
Yeah, and we got there on the coach, looked out the window. I went, it looks all right. I'm going to leave my coat on the coach.
I know where this is coming.
And as we know, that game, it was like a monsoon came over that ground, and I've never been so wet in all my life. I was absolutely soaked to the bone. I remember it's still a classic. I think a lot of people will resonate. A fan called Wolfie walking around with a plastic carrier bag over his head.
Is Wolfie the guy that painted himself blue?
Yeah, there was a tweet about that.
Yeah,
and there was another guy that painted himself blue called who did the Notts County away game. That's it. Called Boat Feet, I think he was called.
Yeah, I remember them both fake. Wasn't it Wolfie was the one that decided to put it was regular paint though because he couldn't get body paint. Wolfie did the regular paint. Yeah, and then had to go for a job interview with bits of blue all over him still.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me after seeing him walk around the Cheltenham away and with a bag over his head.
I remember Wimbledon away, the horror show a few seasons ago under Justin.
Yeah.
It absolutely hammered it down walking back to the car. I think that was the game where Jet got injured after 5 minutes. Dacky ripped his hamstring.
Rory got sent off.
Dory. Mind you, we'd probably been better off bringing on Dory that day rather than Rory. Came on with no shirt number. Then he set up their first goal, didn't he? Gave it to Polyon, and then got sent off for chucking mud into what home fan. And then it hammered it down all the way back to the car. Yeah, that was a good day.
Yeah, no, I do that. But yeah, so I've had some classic moments which my mates will always give me stick about. It's quite funny. But yeah, I love the Gills. As much as everyone gives me stick sometimes about supporting Man United as well, I always say if we ever drew each other in the cup, I'd always be in that Gillingham end regardless.
That was the same for me when we got drawn at Tottenham a few seasons ago, and everyone was like, because I had mates on Facebook, like, oh, what are you going to do, 45 minutes in each? Not a chance. No, not a chance.
You know, I live a mile from the ground now, so, you know, I'm never going to, I'll always back the Gills.
I've been to about probably 3 Spurs games in my life.
I've done a bit better.
So
yeah. But no, they're pretty much my kind of memories, but yeah, still making.
It's brilliant because it's another one who's sort of the same sort of age group as me, like Dave Creasy. I did a couple of nights ago that'll be up in a week or so. But yeah, similar sort of age group. So how old are you, if I don't mind you? Don't mind me asking.
38. So I was born in 81.
So yeah, I'm 38 in July. So
yeah, there you go. So yeah. I mean, I went to the maths school, so proper Medway boy, and to that extent and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just it's funny the Gills. That's why I always say it's a bit. If I put my Man United hat on now, like I get a load of stick off people saying, "Oh, you know, Glory Hunter, I bet you're hating all this." But I'm actually quite enjoying it as a Man United fan in a weird way because I'm like, this is the way Gills are every week for me.
Yeah, it's almost familiar, isn't it?
Handle this. We were never going to win. The United were never always going to win the league every year and all that. I just got to take my medicine. I call it.
Every team has a cycle. That's the thing at any level. Like you say, whether it's United, whether it's Gills' time to come again, and then there'll be a Gills' time again where we really struggle and battle relegation again. That's how this game works, unfortunately. Yeah. And like we said right at the beginning, you have to take the highs and the lows. And I think when you support a club like Gillingham, the highs are probably less frequent than we'd like, but you bloody love them a bit more when they do come along.
No, it's great. And don't get me wrong, those times when we are a bit like we have been towards the end, when we're just pushing towards those playoffs and there's a slight chance of us, don't get me wrong, they're great seasons. I've always said I'd rather be up there trying to fight to get out of this division, or dare I say I'd rather be down there trying to fight to stay in the division. I hate it when we're kind of slap bang in the middle and we're not doing anything.
Well, I can agree, but up until this season, I said this season I wouldn't mind just a really quiet season of mid-table obscurity. I'd have taken that especially after 16, 17. I didn't enjoy that at all. I mean, yeah, there's something to play for still if you're battling relegation, but I don't think I can handle too many Northamptons. That was horrid, absolutely horrid that day. Anyway, blimey, cool. This has flown by. We've still got one question, and we've done 68 minutes.
Oh Jesus! Wow. Okay. What's the other? I forgot what the other question is.
Well, this is the one you should have done all your research on.
Yeah, go on.
Gills' six-a-side team.
Oh yeah. No, I have done it.
That's all right.
I've got it here.
The way he was talking was like he was expecting this to end. I thought, he's not forgotten. He's going to have to do it off the cuff.
No. It's good. Right. Okay. It's a bit worrying that I actually wrote down. I wrote down 7 players, but that's fine.
Oh, God, you can have a sub.
No, it's fine. Okay. 6-side. So, Jason Brown in goal.
Okay.
Bit similar to the Roland thing in that, again, played a lot of games in the Championship, and I just don't feel he's seen up there. And to play that many games in the Championship and that side, I think he deserves a bit of credit. And I think actually, just because his size and build, he'd be absolutely awesome at 6-a-side.
I was going to say, probably built for that type of game, yeah.
So Jason Brown for me. Don't get me wrong, people like Nelson, well, my missus would probably have Nelson in her team. She likes his bum. There are fairly other good. I mean, Nelson probably is the one that stands out in recent time. I think it's a shame Vinny got injured when he did. Otherwise, he could have gone on to be a bit of a legend, more so than he is, I think.
Yeah, so I think he's probably right up there anyway. Big Jim for me as well is right up there. That's my top 3 is Jim, Vinny and Nelson.
I remember going to Reading away in the cup, and Big Jim did this save in the top corner. I was still the best save I've seen live. I was right behind it. And I was like, how the hell did he get to that?
He was an incredible keeper. And again, he's another one who didn't get credit because he had the song he didn't mind it, Big Fat Jim. But he was unbelievable, especially that season when he conceded 20 goals, I think, in 95, 96, which is still the record.
It was a shame we probably didn't get him a year or two earlier. Because then we'd have seen more of him, I think.
We might have got him for a couple of years properly in League One rather than probably, what did we get, 7 months out of him that season before he was replaced,
Yeah, and then
but I think that 95-96 team, Tony built it to do a job for a year to get us out of that division, didn't he? And they all come in and they all done a really good job at doing that.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. So I've gone for 2 defenders. So again, this is me thinking about whether they'd suit the game of 6-a-side. So Nyron.
Okay.
Because I think he'd be up and down that pitch all day long from a defensive. But
he could run all day, so that'd help,
Yeah, and he'd probably sneak up with a few cheeky goals if we needed it, like he did. I still love it when we used to put him up front in emergencies and he just...
Yeah, it doesn't anymore, does it? Like we used to play champ man, centre-back / striker.
Yeah, that's it. Classic. And John Egan. Yeah, so Simon King, don't get me wrong, brilliant defender as well, and sad to hear his interview as well, to be honest. But I think if you look back at that Championship years, again, right backs, you'd struggle to find a better right back for us. Well, Barry Fuller is a legend, but Nyron was a better player for me.
Yeah. I mean, Pato was good. Pato done a job, but he played.
Pato's underrated.
But he played both sides, didn't he? So he was never just the right back or a left back.
He'd stand out, and I reckon he probably played more games at left than he did right.
Yeah, he might well have done, to be fair. And unfortunately, another one his career with us ended on a low note because of a broken leg.
Yeah, absolutely. So Noseworthy and Egan at the back. Daki, midfield.
No explanation. We've spoken about him plenty.
No. This one's a good one. Simon Osborne.
Another one I think who probably goes slightly under the radar and probably unfairly so as well because he was
a superb player.
And he came in late into that Championship team, didn't he, as well? And then he sort of gets forgotten about because people talk about Hesse, Smudger, Mark Saunders, Marcus Browning, maybe not as nicely as the other 3. But yeah, I think Simon Osborne probably goes slightly under the radar. But yeah, really good footballer.
Yeah, I think around that time, I think we weren't doing so great. I think we were having a little wobble, and then we signed him. I think he
settled down a little bit,
Yeah, and again, I'm thinking he would be fantastic on a 6-a-side pitch.
Yeah, can keep the ball all day, to be fair, because a lot of people probably think you go Hesse. I know one per. I can't say that. That's an exclusive. That's not been published yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I know what you're saying because Hesse would obviously he'd run all day. But yeah, if you wanted someone just to be able to get the ball and just keep it simple in a 6-a-side game, I think there's probably not many better.
No, I think the thing about Ozzy, he could do a bit of everything. He could do tackling, he could do the pass, and he could pop up with the odd goal every so often. He could do a bit of it, and he's very creative, actually. I think I'd like to see his stats and his assists for the club because I think that would be quite interesting. I think he'd be quite a high ratio.
Sure.
So him, and then up front, Bob Taylor, easily. But the other two players I had an awe. It would be Kingy and Saabs. I think, again, it's a shame Marlon King had that other stuff outside of football.
Sorry, you say Kingy, you mean Marlon or Simon?
Yeah, Marlon, sorry.
Marlon, fair enough.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Him and Saabs, I think, obviously Saabs we all know about, but...
Not Billy King.
Pardon?
Not Billy King.
No, oh God, 5 minutes. Bless him. No, but Marlon, I think, it's just a shame he had all the stuff out. I remember his dad used to get on the supporters coach and go to the away games with us. Actually, he used to sit on the same coach a lot with us. Really lovely guy, real true gentleman. And we used to pick him up, I think, around Dartford area, saying on the way into game on route to grounds or whatever. I just remember it's just a shame. I think Marlon must have just got in with the wrong crowd outside of football. He must have done for the issues that happened with him. But
he was put inside where I live because I live on the island, and that's where he was put inside. I think. I'm sure it was the open prison on the Isle of Sheppey. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, it is a shame because again, it's another one who probably gets tarnished now a little bit. But when you look at his goals to game ratio, it's right up there. I think it was 40 in about 85 games, and a lot of them are in the champion. They're all in the championship.
Yeah. That's it. And also you look. I think there's been that season. I think obviously he been in prison, then came back out. I think by then we had maybe Big Mama up front. And I think I saw a goal the other day. I think it was the Millwall 4-3 game.
Yeah.
He became he was more of a creator. He was not just scoring goals; he was creating them for his teammates as well. At that point, he developed to that next level. I felt, and that's why he eventually moved on. But
yeah, when played,
it's just a shame. But yeah, he was a quality. So he'd be my, if I had to have a sub, he'd be my sub. I think just over subs.
Yeah, it's a tight call, isn't it? I mean, I think in terms of their ratio and the amount, I think they might have scored the same amount of goals as well. I think they both might have got 40. There's not a lot in it at all, and very similar players in the way they played the game. Yeah, so I suppose you'd have to. I don't think you could ever play them together if you were picking a team.
No, I think you're right. I think they're quite similar.
Yeah,
quite similar. But yeah, I mean, it's quite scary. You start looking back at those championship years and the players we had. I think some of the youngsters now that support the club, I'm probably going to get criticised this. I think where they were brought up with those years, they're a bit. They've had that taste of glory and all that stuff. So I think they feel we're entitled to being in the championship.
I think that's the trouble. I think that's the norm, and it's not. It's 5 years out of 126. It's a very small percentage, and as I've said, probably on pretty much every single one of these fan interviews, we are where we are in the food chain for a reason, and it's probably about right. And that doesn't mean that, as a supporter, I don't want us to get into the championship. I laughed the other day and said, I'm not sure I'd like us to get in the Premier League anymore. There's enough money in the championship for us to be a bigger club, and we don't have to mess around with all the nonsense with VAR and the stuff that I think is turning the game at that level into a computer game. But yeah, I'd love to be in the championship, but there's a reason we're not. I think we're run pretty well. Again, I'll probably get battered for that.
I'm of the same opinion. I think Scally has run this club well. He's just absolutely shocking at the PR stuff.
Yeah, his people skills are absolutely awful.
He's done so many amazing things. So I will say a story about that. Not many people know this. So Mark Agate, remember him? He used to run the Independent Supporters Club.
Vaguely.
So I knew him because of Real 60. He was the president of Real 60 and stuff like that. And I know his wife, Margaret's obviously still with us very well indeed. And I'll say hello to her at Gills games. He obviously had a fallout with Skelly over the whole Independent Supporters Club stuff. And they were all banned, weren't they? And it was more Alan Liptrot, I think, who was the one. But Mark A.
I remember there was a big fallout with Alan Liptrot, because he used to run the Gills. What was it's now defunct. He used to run the website, didn't he?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Gills Connect or something.
That's it, Gills Connect, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Mark kind of helped run that supporters club, but he continued to run it, but was always still allowed in the ground and all that. But I know there was still a bit of a upset there between him and Scally and all that stuff. But when he sadly passed away, God, I hate thinking how many years ago that is now. That must be getting on for 5 years.
Oh, I do remember the game where they did the thing at the beginning. Yes, that was. Yeah, Andy. Yes, I do remember. Sorry, yeah.
That's all right. But what people don't realise actually, Scally on him let Mark Agate's wake happen at the club in the main hall.
Right.
And he said, I know, he said, that's on me. He was a Gills through and through man. You're having the wake at the club and it's on me. And it's those kind of things.
Doesn't get published.
I'm not saying Scally would say, oh my God, look at me, I've done this, because that's no one really would do that. But it's those kind of things, and you think actually this is a guy he fell out with over certain things, but at the end of the day he said, no, this guy's a true supporter of this club, he deserves this. And I remember they even made sure players turned up at his funeral. Hess came up with Kedwell and a few others, and they were up there at the funeral as well, stood outside.
That's just something he doesn't have to do. He doesn't have to do that.
No, and I
think they don't have to do that.
I'm not saying he should say more about those kind of things, but it's when he does all these other stupid other little things, publicity-wise, that he just lets himself down. And when are we going to get those electronic season ticket cards?
Self-service pumps, plenty want in the factory. I mean, I don't drink a lot. I don't drink at that stage generally, but it's like you say,
it's done so many great things.
Stuff that gets promised and then never really happens. I mean, we had a sponsorship on a shirt a couple of seasons ago for a company that's never happened, has it? It's ridiculous that whatever it was, like you say, the electronic season cards.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, the yellow shirt.
I think he's probably on the balance. He's probably done more right than wrong though in 26 years.
Yeah, I think
25
so.
5 years, sorry.
Yeah, and he has. I think again, I think it's the David Parry one said about the ITV digital stuff, and everyone blames Scully for that. Yeah, there's an element. Don't spend what you've not got. There is an element of that, but everyone thought it was such guaranteed money. I can kind of
massive company like ITV. It wasn't like some sort of new company that had come up and was promising loads of money. It was ITV, a huge TV broadcaster.
And he wasn't the only club that did it. It's just that kind of stuff would impact this club far more than it would others.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's just those silly little PR things he does that lets him. That really is just when he's starting to do really well, he'll go and do something. You're like, why?
It does frustrate. We all get frustrated by him. Don't get me wrong. And but I'd rather talk about the stuff on the pitch than the stuff in the boardroom. To be fair.
No. And I think a lot of people say we want Scully out and new owners and that. And you look at so many other stuff that's happened recently. Better the devil, is my stance a little bit.
No,
and that's what we are. Do I want us to have loads of money so we can spend it on? Don't get me wrong. I would love to succeed, but there might be repercussions of that we don't have a club or we're in huge debt.
That's the thing. If it's someone that comes in on his white charger and it's guaranteed that he's going to look after the club and spend money at the same time, then great. But there is no guarantee of that. And it might be someone that comes in and we only have to look up the road at the Charlton situation at the moment. And there's plenty of other examples of it where teams are mismanaged from the very highest level, Bury being a prime example. We've had 2 months of not being able to go to watch our football team. Bury fans have had that since August. So, better the devil, the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence.
And don't get me started on people who've questioned about whether they're going to get a refund on their season ticket or not.
I'm the same stance as you. I'm not asking. It's ridiculous. It's 60 quid that I don't need. It's 60 quid that's going to help the club out. I don't know what they're going to do for next season, but yeah, I totally agree. They're the same people that block you on Twitter when they tweet after a game that we've lost and go, I think I should get a refund for my match ticket. But you don't see them going, we went to Fratton Park and beat Portsmouth 2-0. I'll give you an extra 20 quid for my ticket this week.
No, yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's probably a good note to end on.
yeah, we'll be all for it.
It's been really good. I've really enjoyed that again because it's a similar age group to me. So all the memories are ones that I sort of resonate deeper with as well. And you are the new record holder now. This is the longest video we've ever produced. You've beaten David by 2 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay, sorry.
Right, Gills fans, you know where I am. You know where we are on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. Like we say, you can follow Phil at Beanhead1411 on Twitter. Keep staying safe. Keep following the guidelines. We will be back at the Priestfield sooner rather than later, I'm sure. But until next time, up the Gills.
Cheers, mate.